Hello, welcome everyone to this channel. My name is Janet. I'm working through the King James's Bible today and I will be in the book of Esther. I've just started this book, so I'll be covering chapters 1, 2 and 3 in this video. So let's get into it. So before I begin, I just want to give you two facts about this book. The first one being that we do not know actually who wrote the book of Esther. I've done some research and nobody knows the author. And the second fact is God is not mentioned in it at all. Now, although he's not mentioned, we do know, if you've followed my videos or you've read the Bible yourself, that God works through people. So he is prominent if you focus on the characters, how they actually move. Within the stories we're going to be following today, you'll know that God's presence is there. So let's start with chapter 1. So it starts within the days of King Ahasuerus, who is the king of Persia. Now he reigned over 127 provinces, and this was from India to Ethiopia. And it says he sat on his throne in Shushan, the citadel. Now the Persian Empire was one of the largest they'd ever seen. So, they've overcome the Babylonian king. They basically wiped those out. That is why a lot of the Jews now have been able to go over to Jerusalem and repopulate that area, because the Persian king way back then allowed it, King Cyrus. So in the third year of King Ahasuerus' reign over Persia, he holds a banquet for all of the officials, all of the servants around him, the powerful and the influential. There were princes there, and it was to show his riches. It actually lasted for 180 days, so it was quite something to see. Now, once this is all completed, he then holds a feast for 7 days for those in Shushan, the citadel. And this was from the great to the small in the court of the garden of the palace. And it describes how this court looked. It had fine fabrics. Curtains must have looked beautiful, and there's different colours there. The mosaic pavement and gold vessels for drinking wine from. They also had gold and silver couches, and wine was in abundance. But there was no rules. They didn't have to drink, because I believe in the Persian law, when the king drinks, they had to drink. But there was no rules with this. It was up to the individuals, however much they wanted to drink. Small or large, it was down to them. Now his wife, Queen Vashti, she also puts on a feast for the women in his palace as well. Now by the 7th day of this feast, which is almost over, King Ahasuerus becomes very intoxicated, and he decides he wants his wife to come and parade herself in front of all the officials and princes. He wants to show her off because she's very beautiful, and it's kind of a bit like gloating. Look at my wife, she's better than any of yours kind of thing. And that's what he wants her to do. So he calls 7 of his eunuchs to go fetch the queen. And when they get to the queen, she refuses. She says, "No, I'm not coming. Forget it." And so they go back to the king and tell him this, and he becomes very angry. The king then gathers his close officials and 7 of the princes from Persia and Media, and he asks them, "What should I do in regards to my wife the queen and the law book of Persia? Because the queen has refused my command." And they tell him, "She's not only disrespected you, she's also disrespected us and all of the people in all of the provinces." They say her behaviour will become known to all of the women throughout the provinces, and they will turn against their men and start despising their husbands. That's what they fear is going to happen, just because the queen has set her own boundary. So King Ahasuerus decides to set a royal decree that is recorded in their book of law. He writes in there that for her behaviour she is to be banished from her position as queen. And the king is then to find now a new queen to take her place. And then he makes a proclamation to all of the women in all of the provinces to honour their husbands, both great and small. It says, "Man is master of his house." Okay, so that is how we close this chapter. I'll keep my personal comments out of this for now. So let's move on to chapter 2. So a search begins for a new queen for King Ahasuerus. And what they do is they have all of the young, beautiful virgin females from throughout the lands brought to the king's palace and placed in like a harem. And they end up with about 400 women there. And the king will pick one of those who pleases him. Now in Shushan, there was a Jew named Mordecai, and he was a Benjamite. So he's from the Benjamin tribe. And he was one of the captives that had been taken by the king of Babylon. And he has raised this beautiful woman named Esther, who is a young virgin. And she is his uncle's daughter, because her parents both died. So he took her under his wing and raised her like she was his own daughter. It says she was very lovely and beautiful. Now when the king has made this decree to find a queen and to summon all of these young women, he has given the responsibility to the custodian, Hegiah. And so he takes Esther, she's obviously been taken up there, along with all the other women, and they are put under his care. Now Esther was favoured by Hegiah, so much so that she got the royal treatment. She even got her own area and her own maidservants around her. Now Esther does not reveal her Jewish heritage because her stepfather Mordecai, he told her not to, so she's following what he's told her. He also keeps an eye on her to make sure that she's cared for and looked after while she's in the palace, so he keeps an eye in there. Now we learn that each woman would meet the king after 12 months of preparation. So in the first 6 months, they are given like a treatment of oil and myrrh, and then in the last 6 months, they have given perfume and preparation. So it's like a major like spa treatment for a whole year to get them ready to finally meet the king, for the opportunity to see if he will be pleased with whoever it is he is going to take as queen. Now whoever is not chosen, because there is going to be 399 women who will not be chosen, they will be left in the harem. They'll be kept there for the rest of their lives. They will be widows. They will not be able to marry anyone else. So now it's Esther's turn to meet the king. She's gone through all of that preparation process, and when she meets him, he sees her beauty and her godliness, and he favours her over all of the other women. So she is given the crown and becomes the next queen instead of Queen Vashti. So then the king puts on this Feast of Esther, it's called, and it's to proclaim throughout the land to his officials that he has now found himself a wife. And this will be classed as a holiday throughout the provinces. And it just reiterates here that the young women were gathered for a second time, and Mordecai is there. So he must have had some kind of privilege, he's in the palace quarters. And Esther, again, she does not reveal her Jewish heritage again to the king, so he's not aware that she is a Jew. Then we learn that Mordecai, he has two of the king's servants. Their names are Bigthan and Teresh, and they are the doorkeepers. He hears them having a conspiracy against the king, that they want to kill him. They're in anger over something about him, and they want to kill the king. So Mordecai tells his daughter Esther. She then passes that information over to the king. He verifies it, is this true? And then those two men are hung. So that ends their lives, and that also ends chapter 2. Now in chapter 3 we have a promotion given by King Ahasuerus to his official Haman. He becomes above all of the other princes, and he's an Alchemite, which is one of the enemies of Jerusalem, the Jews. They were one of the enemy tribes. Now the king tells all of the people and all the others that they have to bow down to this Haman. But Mordecai, Esther's stepfather, he refuses to do this. And he's asked by the others around him, why are you refusing to follow the king's commands? Now at first Haman doesn't recognise Mordecai like not bowing to him, until he's informed by the people not only that he is not bowing down to them, but that he is also a Jew. So then he sees this happening, he sees him not bowing, and he is angry. But instead of punishing just him, he decides he is going to have all of the Jews executed throughout the provinces. Haman then decides on a specific date, and on the first month it says he throws a lot, so it's like he throws a dice, which lands on the 12th month. So in 11 months they are going to execute all of those. In the month of Adar is this 12th month, that's what it's known in Persia. Haman then tells the king of this plot, and exactly why he's chosen to do this. He tells him that these people have a law of their own and they disobey, they don't follow our Persian rules, they need to be executed. They are disobedient people. And he tells him that he'll pay 10,000 talents of silver to the king's treasury to ensure this work is all done. Now, this money would not come out of Haman's pocket alone. He will basically take the money from all of these executed Jews. And he asks the king to make this a royal decree, that this is to be taken place. And the king agrees to do this. So he takes his signet ring and he gives it to Haman, which gives him full power over the people. He's left to do whatever he wants to do. He's like, there you go, get the job done. So the decree is written and sealed with king's signet ring, and this notice is sent throughout the provinces, letting all the Jews know that their children, elderly, young, old, all will be executed on the 13th day of the 12th month of Adar. And as we end this chapter, it says the people were perplexed. And I'm sure they were. I mean, gosh, like 1 minute they're all fine living there, the next they had to be executed. And Mordecai must have been so blown away by his one action. Now it's like spread to the whole of his community of Jews that they will now be killed. So yes, what a chapter. We've started with the king, not happy with his queen, banishes her from his palace, finds a new queen, Esther. She comes in there. Two men decide they want to kill the king. They are executed. He then promotes Haman, who is pretty evil, because now he wants to destroy all of the Jews. So this is where we are in these first few chapters of Esther. I hope you have enjoyed reviewing this with me, because I will be back again in the next video, moving on with more chapters within the book of Esther. So thank you for your time. Take care. Have a lovely day. Bye.